Hi, how's it going? I'm Brian and this is Targeting Pressured Whitetails. So I'm going to bring you along with me and show you everything I do to track down one specific whitetail in a season. 9 out of the last 10 years I've been successful at doing so. The 1 year I wasn't. I did put myself in front of that buck, but I hit him in no man's land and I didn't get that one. So I'm going to bring you along with me, like I said, and show you all my setups, show you all my food plots, all my habitat works, show you why my setups are where they're at, talk about past success I've had there and why I was successful there. Try to show you all the intel I look at to track down one specific buck. We'll also be looking at my permanent stands and how I'm mobile in between my permanent stands. And we're going to take a look at my public ground hunting, which will be all mobile hunting. So come along with me, and I hope this is helpful, and I hope you have a good time. First off, I ought to explain my situation here to you. Farm I hunt, I grew up on. It's in southern Michigan, a highly pressured area with lots of deer. This isn't a managed farm. There isn't much management that goes on around it. Pretty much I'm the only one on this farm who does any managing. There's lots of other hunters. You got my dad's buddies, my mom, my kids, and some of my buddies. And there's 1.5 and 2.5 and young deer get shot on this farm. And that's alright. I personally get my kicks out of chasing the biggest buck I have in the area, and I've been successful at getting him. So I just thought I'd explain that to you so you didn't go thinking I was on some expensive high dollar outfit here. It isn't. But I was always the one killing the biggest buck on the farm because I put in the most time, and I just kept on upping my own game, and that's my personal preference. So these tactics you're going to learn are what I've observed from hunting a highly pressured area. I've never been much into reading or listening to podcasts, so pretty much everything you're going to see me doing is what I've watched from screwing up, watching whitetails run away from me, which is probably the best way to learn. Today we're going to be looking at a bed and how I set up off from it. So come with me and my horrible camera skills, and maybe you can learn something about tracking down that specific buck you're after. So I came back in this bedding area earlier, kicked about 8 deer out of here, and I had to go to the back of the farm and do some things. I was back there for about an hour, come back up towards this bedding, take a look at it with you guys, and I seen one deer scooting back out of this bed an hour after I kicked them all out of here. I don't know because I didn't see, but I do assume that that was a buck. In these high pressured areas, I think people are a little too careful. They think that if they kick a buck up, they're never going to see him again. And right there's a good example on how I think that they're wrong. And a good amount of pressure is what needs to happen to get close to these bucks. We'll talk a lot about that. But for now, I'll show you this bed. And this whole area is real thick. It's a thick creek bed, and it beds a lot of deer. But when I catch a good mature buck in here, I usually catch them in this one spot right here. And it's pretty obvious that they hang out here. And once we get in there and look at it, you'll see that it has everything he needs, so it makes sense that he's there too. So let's check out this bed. And all the way around this bed there's a shit ton of rubs. Like these ones here. That one there's a nice one, chest high. So you can tell that was a good buck. There's old rubs, new rubs. You can tell real old historical rubs right here. So you can tell buck's been using this for a long time. And it makes sense because it has everything they need. If we get down in here and look, up to the east here it goes uphill. And normally if I catch a mature buck here, it's on an east wind. So you got that wind coming over the hill from the east, and he probably puts his back to that. And over to the west here, it's hard to see, but he actually has a real good vantage point to see any predator approaching him. And from both the north and south, it's really thick all the way to the road there to the south, and really thick all the way to a food plot I have over here heading to the north. And I'll find that in these beds where the big bucks end up using. There'll always be real thick escape routes like that. So if anything approaches, they can sneak out unseen. And it ain't just used for sneaking out from a predator. It's also used as a path on their way to food in the evening. So they can browse along through something nice and thick and feel comfortable on their way to the food that they actually want. So that's where I like to set up, is on them thick exit routes where I expect them bucks to head in them last minutes of shooting light from when they get up to when they're on their way to food. So we'll go over and check out my setups on these thick exit routes. We'll walk out here to the west, and as you see, there's a creek that runs right through here too, so they also have water right next to their bedding. So out here on the west side, like I said, it opens up. And I don't set up over here because I figure he's probably going to see me approaching if I do. And I don't think he's going to head this way. He's going to want to stay in the cover, like I said, over here and browse his way along on his way to his more desired food. So right over here, about 80 yards out, is that buck bed. Here's the thicket on the way to the food plot. Right here's my food plot out there. My tree stands in this tree right here, overlooking the food plot. So it's a sweet setup. But 2 years ago, my son shot a 172-inch 14 point out of this stand. And that buck made his way all the way through this thicket when this lane wasn't here, and we'd never seen him till he got about 30 yards further out into the food plot with only a couple minutes left. So I cut this lane up through the thicket here, so that gained me a few minutes next time, just in case one of them bucks when it shows up real late. And that 25-30 yards that I gained right there could be a few minutes. So I didn't want to take the chances, and I cut a lane up through there. So let's talk about access to this stand, which is great access. As you can see over here, it goes uphill out to crop field. Over here is where the thick bedding is. So I can stay out in them crop fields up top, and that buck down here will never see me. And with an east wind, I can slide into that stand, and there's no possible way for him to see my entrance. And my wind will be good when he gets up and moves towards my food plot, if that's where he goes. The only other spot he's probably going to go is to the south and cross the road. So we'll go over here and look at my setup I got over here and talk about how I don't think that setup's really in the right spot anymore, and how I plan on being mobile in this area. So right here in this pine is my setup on the south side of that bed. And that bed sits down in here about 75 yards. And right through here, heading towards the road, used to be their main crossing. But the year after I put that stand there, I put a food plot down in here, and it changed a lot of the movement in the evenings. Now when they head across that road, they're usually down here browsing through that food plot on their way to the grain across the road. So this year I plan on bringing my mobile gear down here to these maple trees. And it should be better anyways, because I'm still about 60 yards off the road, but my access will be much better because these pines will conceal all my movement. Then once I get in here under the tree, I have all these swamp willows in between me and that bed. I damn near do jumping jacks under that tree and he ain't gonna see me. So if I get down in here with my Lone Wolf custom gear, I get set up in this tree no problem. Which if you take a look at all them branches, you know that back in the day with the old climber you'd never get up there. That's what's sweet about this new mobile gear. You can get up in any old tree. Back when climbers first come out, I hunted mobile all the time. Very efficient way to hunt. But it didn't take long for me to realize that I didn't want to drag that big ass heavy thing through the woods everywhere I went. So I started hanging up tree stands everywhere. I'd zero in on areas that I knew bucks were going to be, the buck that I was chasing was going to be. And I'd hang 4 or 5 tree stands in that one area. Maybe only like a 10-acre area. And total, on the whole farm, I've had between 15 and 20 tree stands every year for quite a long time. That's a lot of damn work. And a lot of money. Add up all them tree stands and sticks, I wouldn't even want to think about how much money is invested into that stuff. And I've done a lot of mobile hunting since then, but it's all been off the ground. And that's tough. You can't just hunt everywhere off the ground. Certain places you can, and I do, where it's nice and thick and you can have enough cover to get your bow drawn back and make a nice close ethical shot on a deer. So like I said, I've done that. But you're limited. Options are very limited on the ground with a bow. So I'm excited this year. Bring the mobile hunting back into my game a little more. I've done a lot of looking, and Lone Wolf custom gear by far is exceeding everybody else. Between their weight and their packability, that's definitely the choice I've made. You ought to look into it too. If mobile hunting is your thing, or you might want to think about bringing some mobile hunting into your tactics, and I'd take a look at Lone Wolf custom gear. So let's talk about some key factors in the setup here today. We'll first talk about access. Both sides, north and south, I have great access. South side I'm really close to the road, and on the north side I can stay up on top of them crop fields and they'll never see me access my stand. And playing the wind right, they should never smell me. Another key point would be how we set up inside them travel routes, them thick exit routes. That's key, because I've found them big bucks will stay in there on their way to food. And that'd be another key point, is how I put the food plots at the end of them travel routes. Just something a little more to entice them in that direction. The last key point we'll talk about is the mobile setup. And being mobile is very effective, because them deer will pattern you. They'll see you come in on a certain area and they won't take off, and they'll mark that down, and the next time they're there, they'll be waiting for you to come into that same spot. So being mobile is very effective, because you can move around, switch up your game, and catch them off guard. So them are our key points to this setup. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you tune in the future.